Hello and welcome to episode 85 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, crochet and making all the things here in northwest London. You can find me on Instagram at hippie_Nikki, but I will flag that I'm taking kind of a lockdown break at the moment. I took it off over second November lockdown and I stayed off over Christmas and I'm just enjoying not being on social media at the moment. So I'm not on there at the moment. I'm not posting. I think I last posted in October, maybe. But you know, for nostalgia's sake and for the fact I will be back at some point, I will link to that just down below. In fact, I'll be linking to everything just down below in the description box. So anything I mention that you would like to check out, just down there. Where I can, I will be providing non-Ravelry links and everything will be marked very clearly, Ravelry or non-Ravelry. Before I do my usual thank yous, I want to kick off the podcast by saying Happy New Year because this is my first episode of the new year, despite it being more than halfway through January. We'll come to that. But as always, I also want to kick off with a big thank you. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for giving the podcast a shot. I know there is plenty of other things you could be doing with your time, so I really appreciate it. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I know I have been over the past few months kind of sometime-ish, and I really appreciate you sticking by me through all of that and the continued madness. I always forget to mention this, so I've actually put a note in my show notes that's just going to stay there to remind me. I have a Ko-fi account, which you will also find linked below. So if you like this podcast and you want to buy me a coffee, please do. Today's tea is in a new mug. This was one of my Christmas gifts. It is a little cartoon Baby Yoda that says, I would rather be napping. And that's pretty accurate. I think this was bought for me for two reasons. The first being that I like tea and drinking out of mugs, and the second that I like Baby Yoda and also napping. So I suppose that's three. It has been brought to my attention that I am the person most likely to nap that pretty much anyone knows. So he's not wrong. I would rather be napping pretty much most of the time. Today's tea is another Pukka one. We will talk about my Christmas time, but I didn't get all the way through my Christmas advent calendar, so I'm still kind of tasting them here and there. And this is Camomile, Vanilla and Manuka honey, and it is a blissful dip in a pool of calm. So that sounds good, right? It's very, very nice. I like... Camomile has a natural sweetness, and I was worried that it was going to be too, like, really sweet in the back there with the vanilla and the honey, but no, not at all. There's a flavour but not an added sweetness, which is really nice. It's delicious, and it was definitely something that I would drink before bed. I love a good chamomile before bed, but I do think given the year we've had, the time we're continuing to have, I probably need more than a mug of it if it's going to be like a blissful dip in a pool of calm. So on that note, I actually got a couple of other Baby Yoda bits for Christmas. And I don't know if you can see him. I haven't podcasted in a while, so I probably framed this really inexpertly. Not that I was ever an expert. But if you can see him, I got a little Yoda pop. Look at his little head. Jiggles. I love it. Hang on, if I can move him onto a higher bit, maybe you'll see him better. I think you can see him better there. There he is. Little jiggly head. I love that. And that's probably quite a lot of blather up front. Let's move on to Whipped Up. I am super out of practice at this, but it is quite late in the day. I don't know for anyone else, but particularly with lockdown, there's not much reason to get up and go out anywhere. So it's so cold, I tend to just curl up in bed and like read my book or pop on a podcast or a film and just sit in bed and knit. So it takes me a little while to get going in the mornings. So I am doing this quite late, and I'm going to try and not re-record bits where I fluff them. So that it's quicker to film, it's easier to edit. So I'm crossing my fingers for me that this goes well, but I'm crossing them for you too. I mean, I don't really know where to start. because it has been a while. I would normally cover this in Knit and Natter, but I'm going to go into kind of why it's been a while very vaguely, and we'll talk more in Knit and Natter about that. But I was intending to record last week and our internet went down. Just down. So they sent out a new router, we plugged it all in, and it didn't work at all. Like, there were days when I was trying to work and I got to 12 o'clock and the internet was like, peace out, no internet. Which was, thank God the first week back was a quiet week, so I didn't have too much catching up to do. But it turned out they'd sent us the wrong wire, so it was only kind of half connecting, sporadically connecting. So it was an easy fix because we had our old wires, and it's now like pew pew. It's really fast and great. That is the delay in this year. And as I said in the last episode, I didn't know how regular I'd be in December, because I didn't know how busy or how tired it was going to be. And that I will talk about a little bit more in Knit and Natter. But for now, we are going to look at some whips because that's why you're here. I don't know why you're listening to this. I'm so sorry. I'm going to start with the project that I was working on for most of December. Unfortunately, it's not in a beautiful bag. It is in one of my IKEA bags that I store my stash in my little cubby drawer situation. And these are just some crochet squares. Now, if you've been watching the podcast for a little while, you'll know that Katie of Inside Number 23 and Amy of Stranded and I do a Advent swap, where I make up 24 little mini balls, and 12 go to Katie, 12 go to Amy. I receive 12 from Amy and I receive 12 from Katie. So in total, we have 24 little Advent balls. And this is just a really nice little thing that we do. It's become a bit of a tradition and I really, really love this. However, this year, I didn't have a blanket project. So as you know, last year, 2020, despite everything, I finished, I'm pointing at it, you can't see it, but I'm pointing at it, my Cozy Squares blanket and my Cozy Stripes blanket. So I have nothing to put this in. And I didn't really need another blanket. I have a friend who's having a baby, so I could have made a scrappy blanket for them, but I'm instead going to make some little socks. So I wasn't sure what to do. And I thought about it for a bit, and I had a little browse on the lovely Attic 24 blog because that place is full of inspiration. And I came across solid granny squares. And I thought, well, what if I take some inspiration from Amy, who is doing like a scrappy granny square out of all of the opal minis, I think. Why don't I do something like that, but with my Advent yarns? I can join them all together and then I can donate it. And part of the reason I want to do that is because I don't need another blanket, but I really enjoy making them. And I really enjoy working with my Advent yarns through December. And this feels like a little thing that I can do to acknowledge my privilege, but also hopefully do something nice for somebody else. But I'll show you a couple of the squares. Oh, that probably sounded terrible on camera, I'm so sorry. But they're solid granny squares. And I did 5 rounds instead of her recommended 3 because she does hers in DK and I'm obviously doing it in fingering weight. So you can see they're really nice, solid. They're not too holy the way crochet can be. Not that I mind that, quite like a nice bit of holy crochet. And I got about 2 to 3 full ones out of the little mini ball that I was sent. And then I'd have a little bit left over. So I'd have ones like this, which, as you can see, has got like a brown in the middle, and then I ran out, this was the end of the brown, and then I used like this multicolour to try and finish it, and then I used this tan. So I've got some like really crazy squares, and I have laid them out on my bed where I've got a white sheet, and I've kind of organised them into a 7x11 blanket, I think. So all I've got to do is weave the ends in. Well, actually not, to be fair. Most of I crocheted over it at the beginning, so I've just got to trim that off and just weave in the ends at the end. So that's like a good couple of evenings work. And then I'm going to crochet them all together with some West Yorkshire spinners that I've got in grey. Poppy seed, I think it's called. I'm going to just get some more out to show you because look at this one. I had to finish this with at the ends of another one, but that hydrangea in the middle is just beautiful. I absolutely love this one. There you go, there's another one. But yeah, I have a lot. Oh, I dropped some. But I have a lot. I have a good healthy wedge of them. So I think, and look how beautiful they are. Can you see, like, please don't drop them in your tea, Nikki. Please don't drop them everywhere. Looks like I'm playing an accordion. Can you imagine if I just one day was like, I've just decided to play the accordion for you guys. Ready? But yeah, as you can see, there's so many colours in there. Solids, tonals, stripes, speckles, and it's gorgeous. So I'm kind of envisaging it in my head as just like this riot of colour, and each one bordered by grey, and then with a nice thick grey border around it. So it's like quite a good sized baby blanket. And then I'm going to make it slightly bigger by doing a border on it. And I'm really excited, and I'm really hoping I can find a charity that accepts this kind of stuff, because I am very aware that we're in a pandemic, so maybe they're not accepting these donations. So it might be something that I put aside and donate after the pandemic. But it is something that I really want to do. But that's it. That's going to be my little charity blanket. So yeah. Obviously, when they're actually crocheted together, you'll see what they look like, because it's really hard to... Oh, God. It's really hard to show you without going, got a white one. I got a blue one. I got the hydrangea one. Like, we'd be here all day. There's like 70 odd. So, yes, that is my plan. Oh, they are in order. I've just remembered I put them away in order. But that's my plan for these. So yeah, I heartily recommend, if you've got any scraps and you don't need another blanket, make a scrap blanket and donate it, because, you know, it's going to give you the joy of making. It's going to give somebody the joy of receiving. So join me. I've got a couple of things to cover before we move on to my other whips. The first is the Kerrytown by Annie Lupton, and that has not been touched. And I know I said that I was going to work on it over Christmas. I did not. Just with all the Christmas, I was going to say Christmas bad news, and that seems really unfair, but the bad news just before Christmas about lockdown and restrictions, and I just didn't have the headspace, and I was so tired. And I just had these lovely, lovely simple little squares to work on, so I kept picking those up and not my Kerrytown. So that hasn't been touched. It will be. I'm going to talk you through my process shortly. And I also knit a pair of socks for my nan. I say a pair. I knit one vanilla sock and did I start the second one? No, I only knit one, and I knit it out of West Yorkshire Spinners Christmas 2020 colourway Silent Night. It's her favourite hymn for Christmas. It's beautiful, sparkly. I thought she's going to love them. And I wanted them to be a surprise. So I was doing things like sneaking across the living room floor while she was asleep in her chair and like holding them up against her feet, or like if she happened to not be wearing her slippers, like checking them against the slippers. It got very, I want to say like Pink Panther-y. Is that a good is that a good description? But you know what I mean? It was very farcical. And then I finished it just before Christmas Eve. You know, I can knock out a sock. It doesn't take that long for me now, which past Nikki would be so impressed to hear that. But I kept looking at them and I was like, I don't know about these. I really don't. I didn't think they were going to fit, basically. And I also didn't want to give up the surprise. But anyway, on day before Christmas Eve, I was like, look, I've done this. Please try it on and I will knock out the other one if it fits. It did not fit. It was too small. It was a little bit too short. Not by much, but a little bit too short and a little bit too tight. So yeah, I'd knit a whole sock that didn't fit. And I said, okay, I can pull it out and knit you some new ones. Or, but before I do, try on some of mine to see like if my numbers fit you. And she did, and she really liked them. So we went through my my sock drawer of hand knit socks, and she claimed a few. So I'm not knitting her socks currently, because she's claimed a few of mine. But we're going to call those the Frog Pond socks. I have nothing to show for it except, oh, hang on, I do have something to show for it. It looks like an egg. This is sad times, guys, sad times. So yeah, I did knit a sock. I think I had the next one cast on and then I panicked, but it didn't come to anything, unfortunately. So there you go. So those were the two projects that didn't, but let's have a look at what I have been working on. So these are the Warm Brew Mittens by Joanne Bint. It is free on Ravelry, so, you know, click, click. And I've knit these out of the sock weight of Socks Yeah by Coop Knits. This is the Obsidian colourway. And before we get into anything else, I don't know why it's called Obsidian, because it's more of like a taupey mushroom than obsidian. Obsidian is black, right? I'm sure I googled this when it came. It's very black, and this is much more mushroomy. So these are for my nan, and as I said, the pattern is free and I would heartily recommend it. I really like this rolled cuff, which is lovely because ribbing can be a pain, and it is textured all over. So this is the other side, so I hope you can see that. It's all textured here. And then we have a cable going up here that's like the steam coming off a mug. The one thing I will say is that I started these and I got about 5 rows into the pattern and I unpicked it because where that cable sits is just here and it goes up into the thumb, which is a beautiful design. But where it fell on my magic loop was at this, like, the join. So trying to do the cabling across that was just awkward, and I shimmied it round and I did a couple more rows and was like, oh, you can see where I've done it across that gap and where I haven't. So I pulled it out and started again. So this little silver stitch marker is the start of the row, so it's in the middle of one, and these 2 gold stitch markers just mark either side of the cable. I love to do that because then when you're just knitting, you don't have to count how many to knit. You can just knit until you hit it and you're like, oh, cable time. So that's good. I love this. I also want to just give a shout out to the yarn because the yarn is lovely. It's very smooth. It's got a slight halo, which I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's got a very slight halo, but otherwise it's very smooth. So it's got perfect stitch definition for something like this. Like, look at that. And then the texture is it just pops. It's beautiful. But it also feels really sturdy. Like, even though it's soft and smooth, I don't feel it's going to wear through in a couple of weeks. So it's pretty ideal for these because my nan wants to wear them around the house, keep her hands warm. I have mentioned before that we don't have heating, central heating that is. We do have heating, obviously, but we don't have central heating, so it can get a little bit chilly. So she wants these to wear around the house. So I heartily recommend this. I actually can't believe this is free. It's fantastic. The one thing I will say, which leads me neatly on to my next project, is you do have to think. You know, I'm having to refer to the pattern every row because obviously there's the texture, there's the cabling, and sometimes I'm not there for that. You know, sometimes it's been a long day and I'm tired and I don't want to have to read a pattern. So that is why they are not finished yet, basically. I started them a few days ago and they're a super quick knit. It's just I haven't had much brain power to do them. That's all I will say. It's not a difficult knit at all. It's more of a thoughtful knit, you know, it's not autopilot at all. So yeah, heartily recommend that. I also think these might be available on Ribbler, so I will link to that as well just down below. Now, very, very, very finally, I cast this on last night, which is why you've got this much, but it's a new vanilla sock. I realised that everything I had needed brain power. So the mittens, I have to check the pattern at every row. The Kerry Town, kind of the same thing. My blanket, I mean, it's autopilot to weave in the ends, so I probably should have been doing that, but you know, I'm not perfect. But otherwise, I've never done like joining the squares the way that I'm planning to do with this, so it would mean sitting down and watching a video and trying. There was nothing that was just relaxation knitting, you know? I didn't have the knitting equivalent of a jacuzzi. And that's what a vanilla sock is. So I have cast on a vanilla sock. I went for a walk yesterday, and I went round Regent's Park. I saw a zebra, which was pretty cool. And I came home and was like, yeah, I need to cast on a vanilla sock. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners. And I can't remember for the life of me what this blue is, but I'm doing the contrast cuff, heel, toe. I don't know what I was going to say then, but I really had to think about it. But I will put the colour name on here because it is a beautiful blue. And I use this with their vintage Fairy Lights colourway from a couple of years ago to make some Christmas socks. And I love this. I think it's such a lovely blue. But I'm using this with Yarn Shop Day. I have no idea. Oh, I was going to say I have no idea when this came out, but I do because it says 2017. So this was the special Yarn Shop Day colourway by West Yorkshire Spinners for Yarn Shop Day 2017, and I haven't used it, as you can see, and it's beautiful. So why not make a pair of happy, cheerful, pink, red, blue and white striped socks? And I thought that the blue was kind of similar enough to the blue in the stripe, so it would look lovely. So those are going to be my first vanilla socks of the year. I probably we don't like should here, just do what you want. But I probably should have wound my Christmas yarn that I got from Amy or from Tiny Human Knits and knit a Christmas sock, because I have only knit one pair of Christmas socks this year, which are my West Yorkshire Spinners Silent Night ones. But honestly, didn't want to have to wind the yarn. I just wanted to go. And the beauty of these, like, it's not a ball. Didn't I read somewhere that this is actually a skein, and the twisty things I call skeins that I've seen other people call skeins are hanks. Anyway, but this is ready to go. And I think that's kind of my lesson at the moment. Like, you don't have to do the things you should do, and it's okay to make it easy for yourself. I didn't want to have to wind yarn. I wanted to knit. You know, don't complicate things. We are in a pandemic. Everything is going crazy. Just don't stress yourself out anymore. Pre-wound balls. They're the future. So coming up, I have a new bullet journal. One of the pages in that is dedicated to my knit list 2021. And it's basically all the things that I want to finish and start and finish this year. And that includes all of those things. It includes some of my Christmas yarns that I particularly want to knit up this year, and a couple of other ideas, which I'm not going to share because if you followed me for a little while, you'll know that I think for a year or two I did the Make 9 challenge, and I promptly just didn't make any of them. It's almost like as soon as I say publicly, I'm going to make such and such, my brain goes, no you're not. Like, think you can tell me what to do? No. So I'm just going to go with what I want to do. And it's a bit like, ooh. So apart from these things that are already in progress and I want to finish, I have kind of just put ideas down of things that I want to make rather than you will make this pattern. But that's it for Whipped Up. I don't know how, I was going to say convoluted, when what I mean was clear. I'm not sure how clear that was. Hopefully it can be edited into erudite clarity. So good luck editing, Nikki. But now let's move on to knit and natter. Okay, knit and natter this week. When I started this podcast, knit and natter was, God, that was like 5 years ago now, coming up to 5 years this year. Knit and Natter was just a place to talk about what I was getting up to. You know, so if I went on holiday, you'd hear about that. If I went on a day trip or to a museum or I tried something new, it was a good kind of catch-all place to just natter while you knit. And as you've probably noticed, that has been increasingly hard over the past year or so because, I mean, we're in various states of lockdown and the pandemic, and there's not much to talk about. So yeah, you know, we had that time over the summer when I was able to visit museums again and I absolutely loved it. So that was a relief. But right now, the struggle is real. The main reason that I didn't produce a new episode before Christmas is that I was not mentally up to it. So time is all of a blur, but I think it was the week after the episode went up that we essentially had Christmas cancelled here in the UK. Basically, we were allowed 5 days where we were going to be able to see people and travel, and then I think it was 2 days before that 5 day window that they were like, that can't happen, just no. So I mean, we had pared back our Christmas anyway. Normally we visit a lot of people. I have a Boxing Day tradition, a fairly new one, where I meet a friend for brunch and then we go to the cinema to see whatever big, usually kind of action-y film is out. And we'd paired it back to kind of just seeing a couple of people in our family, and my Boxing Day plans became, let's just go for a walk. And then of course this happened, and all of those cancelled. So it was a very, very quiet Christmas, and it was a little bit sad because of that. Not horribly so, but it was a little bit melancholic, I think is probably a better word. It was nice and quiet and restful. So, there is that. But honestly, I feel like ever since I've been struggling, I feel like I have managed to keep my pecker up for most of the last year. I've had like my low moments, but I've been able to kind of recover and bring it up and be like, it's fine, you can do this and this will make you happy and it'll all be over. But when they cancelled Christmas, when they shut down the gyms, it was a real blow, because I don't think I realised how much, particularly I was relying on the gym, and I was relying on these nice little Christmas plans. The gym really gave structure to my week. I was seeing a lot of improvement. I was already nearly at 5 miles again. And to have that rug swept away was really hard, because here in England we've had a lot of, they've given stuff back and taken it away and given it back and taken it away. And that's almost harder to cope with than them just taking it away and saying like, we're not going to give it back till we can. So yeah, I think that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me a little bit, and it's been a real struggle to come back and talk to you, to be honest, because I don't want to come here and be like, glum. I want to, for my own mental health, try and be as cheerful as possible and try and cheer you guys up, hopefully. So that's been difficult. So I'm trying really hard to find little pockets of joy, but I'm not going to lie to you, it is hard, because I really feel like I'm hitting the bottom of my reserves. And we've all been there, and I hope through being productive and making things, I will refill that bucket. But it's been hard. So I just wanted to be really honest about that, because if you're there looking at me being all cheerful and throwing crochet squares around, I don't want you to feel like, well, why is she fine and I'm not? Because I'm not. I feel really good talking to you right now. I have to say, I had to listen to my hype song before sitting down, because I was like, I just don't know if I've got the energy. But the moment I started talking, I was like, oh, I'm talking about my knitting. I love doing this. This is great fun. So yeah, I need to remember that I do enjoy doing this, even if searching up is kind of long. I've also been reading a lot, which does help. I've actually been reading hardback books. So I did a lot of reading on my Kindle before Christmas, also into the new year, because I didn't finish the last Discovery of Witches book until 5th of January or something. I'd have to check my Goodreads. But I got The White Ship by Charles Spencer for Christmas, and that was a really good read. So if you're into, it's not historical fiction, it's historical non-fiction. It's about the White Ship disaster, when the ship went down and Henry's son William was killed, and it led to the whole Empress Matilda, anarchy, Stephen. Very, very good. Recommend. And I've been dying to read this one for ages. I got it when it first came out, but I lent it to my mum first, and she only reads before bed, and only for like 10 minutes, so it took her a little while. But this is A Year in the Chateau by Dick and Angel Strawbridge. If you don't know, I think I talked about it on my vlog We did a lockdown vlog last year, and I love their show Escape to the Chateau. If you can get hold of it, please do. It's one of my comfort watches. So whenever I'm feeling a bit down, I watch Dick and Angel because there's so many reasons. It's a beautiful show to watch. It looks beautiful. Their chateau is stunning. Dick is very good with logistics and engineering, which is fascinating. Angel has a beautiful eye for decorating and preserving the kind of vintage and historical stuff they find around the chateau, which you can see there. But they also have they are ultimate couple goals. They adore each other. I love them together, and I love them with their cute little family. So yeah, reading this is just so joyful, and it's one of my comfort watches. Speaking of comfort watches, if you can get your hands on 40D, wherever you are in the world, I don't know, you can get a VPN and maybe access it, I'm just saying. But I heartily recommend The Great Pottery Throwdown. I love it. I love it. I think I might love it more than Bake Off. But having said that, I also love Junior Bake Off. Junior Bake Off is brilliant because the stakes are so much lower. And I know it's only cake in the adult Bake Off, but we all know that there's a chance that they'll get a book deal or a TV show of their own. And, this is their big dream. But for these kids, they just want to bake and be on Junior Bake Off and then go back to school and tell their mates they won it. It's the stakes are so much lower, the judging is obviously so much gentler. It's just funny. So I heartily recommend that, and The Great Pottery Throwdown, which is exactly what it sounds like. It is the Great British Bake Off but pottery. So they'll have a challenge, and they'll have a speed challenge as well, and it's just fascinating because I desperately want to try pottery. It was on my list last year. I mean, a little pandemic got in the way. But yeah, I absolutely love it. I love seeing all these techniques. I love seeing the skill and the passion, and people laugh about the fact that the head judge cries when he really likes something, but I think that's fantastic. He loves it. He's going to cry over a teapot. I get that. Same energy, dude. I feel that. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. I have no idea how long I've been sat here and how much there's going to be to edit. Hopefully not too much. But I just wanted to say, I get it. If you're feeling low energy, if you're feeling what is the point? If you're feeling, I don't know, you can't get on with your knitting because you just want to stare at Bridgerton and the Spanish princess. Guilty. I just want to say that that's fine, because it is. And, I do what you can to make yourself happy, but also it's okay to feel a bit rubbish right now, because it is a bit rubbish. So that's it for this week. But before I go, I just want to reiterate that however you feel is okay. I think we are probably all struggling with a bit of the 2021 disappointment, because we all said, the pandemic isn't going to go away just at the stroke of midnight on the 31st of December 2020. It's not. We all know that. And I know we all knew that. I knew that. But I also thought that 2021 would be better. And it just feels oh no, it's just going to be another 2020. This is part 2 of a trilogy. What is this? So I understand if you're feeling low. It has been such a long year, and we are all only human, and there is only so much positivity and cheerfulness you can utilise until you have to do a Nikki and go to bed and just watch Bridgerton and sleep and nap and read a book and not knit because I couldn't get my head around complicated things. And that's okay, but this can't last forever, okay? This cannot last forever. And we have books, and we have yarn, and we have great TV and film and podcasts. I found new podcasts over this year, which has been amazing, and my favourite ones have kept it coming, and thank you so much for that. And we have so much to be thankful for in our carers, whether they be working in care homes, whether they are caring for family members at home, whether they're working in hospital, on the front line, or, behind closed doors, keeping the place running, whether they're supermarket workers, people keeping essential shops open. There is a lot of good. And I know it's tiring to look for it through the bad news. but it is there. And when you have the energy, when your bucket is full enough, please go and look for that good news, because it's only going to fill your bucket more. That's it for this week. I'm not sure when I'm going to be back. I am going to try and get back to my every other week schedule, but please forgive me if it's a little bit more sporadic, because what I don't ever want to do is like drag myself to the camera because I have to, it's in the diary. I want to come here with genuine enthusiasm. I was like, encouragement? No, enthusiasm is the word I was looking for my projects, for talking to you. I promise that I will try. I cannot promise that I will always manage it. So I will be here at some point in the future, and I hope you will have a cup of tea with me then. Take care. There's a new phrase that I keep hearing, stay positive and test negative. But I think I will stick with my tried and true, mask up, stay safe, and I'll see you very soon for another cup of tea. Take care. Bye.